So I am in Guadalajara in a restaurant in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, that's what we wanted to know.
You are too early, sometimes you are too late. Sometimes you're just wrong at the wrong place. I never sent you an invoice for that.
Well,
Carlo Schneider is a serial entrepreneur. Among other things, he manages intellectual property rights of prominent people and world stars, and he is also an Instagram influencer with over 85,000 followers.
I was always in my life really pretty lazy, and if you're lazy, you need to find a way to survive. Never in my life I will do a selfie. In August, after 9 months, I had 25,000 followers.
How Instagram changed your life?
Hello. Yes, hello.
Hi, nice to see you.
Nice to see you too, and thank you for the invitation.
And my first question would be, I calculated on your LinkedIn profile, you're either a managing partner or independent director in 16 companies. How do you manage to do all that? What's your secret?
I guess I work hard. I guess I delegate a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a lot about putting priorities in what you have to do and also in delegating.
On top of that, you're traveling, right? Like 150 days a year, right?
Yeah. Last year, 130. 2023, 189. I'm counting them, so I know exactly how many days.
And you managed to do all that. So
yes.
Please tell us how to do that.
It reminds me of a very nice conversation we have had among the many we have had in more than 10 years, by the way, where we had a deep dive into AI tools somewhere 2 years ago, April 23, I think. And since we know each other for some time, of course, how much has this helped you to orchestrate, to industrialize your processes?
I use several AI tools on a daily basis. I actually took, I think like 2.5 years ago, a master class in prompting, which is quite funny because it reminded me how it was at the very beginning when we started to have a personal computer. We needed to do all these shortcuts.
So
and
decades ago.
Yeah, and then came Windows 3.11, and suddenly we were able to use a mouse and to click on folders.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit the same with AI, I believe. So I did this masterclass to learn prompting, knowing that probably in a couple of years, people will love when you tell them that you had to do your own prompting. But every day I work, I also have some leisure time. So even if I travel, I take my notebook.
So you have time to recharge, right? So this is what.
And I need time to recharge too. So I have this wonderful advantage that I can work very fast if I really focus on something. It helps to do a lot of work in a short period of time, but then I need a break. And especially when I travel, this is really helpful. This skill of working fast and very efficiency for a short period of time, because I typically would get up in the morning, have breakfast, work for an hour or 2 or 3, and within 2 or 3 hours I can do a lot of work if I focus myself, and then I have leisure time when I travel.
You mentioned that you can work fast.
Yeah.
Is it something you learned, or is it something natural? Because there are some strategies, how to concentrate. Is it something you learned, or you think?
I think I was always in my life really pretty lazy, and if you're lazy, you need to find a way to survive. You need to find a way to survive, and my way of surviving was to work very fast and being very focused, and so that is something I always had. Mm-hmm. Even when I went to school, when we had tests, I didn't start to learn to the very last second, but then I was pushing things.
So it's obvious that we are around in business for quite some years. So, and I hope that we also have some younger business owners, entrepreneurs watching us. Beyond all this techification of processes in your daily routines, is there any constant or any constants over, I hate to say, decades around in Luxembourg and worldwide that have not changed? Is there anything that is kind of a DNA of being successful as a business owner beyond tech?
Yes, of course. I think there are quite a few things. The first thing is that I'm strongly convinced you can only be an entrepreneur and or an executive if you love to take decisions. I love to take decisions because my business life and partially also my private life is an endless to-do list. So every decision I take is a box I can tick. It's an item which is fulfilled or gone. So I consider it as a privilege to be able to take a decision, not as something that is pushing my boundaries or would be difficult to do. So I love to take decisions and then to take the next step.
Not a lot of people do, to an exception, probably.
Yeah, but I think it's very rewarding. And of course, you have to learn how to take decisions, or you have to learn to take decisions and to take also at some point, you always have a liability or responsibility if you take decisions. So that is one thing that doesn't change or that hasn't changed. You need to love to take decisions. I think you have to love to work and you have to hate to count hours. If you count hours, you're not made to be an entrepreneur. If you don't love your job, you're not made to be an entrepreneur. So you have to love what you do, and if you love what you do, you don't care if it's 20 hours, 40 hours, 60 hours a week. And I had times in my life where I was working 60 or 70 hours a week, and I had times where I was maybe for weeks and months only working 30 hours because there was less work, and that is okay. I think social and personal interaction is something that will never change. As we say in Luxembourg, there's no deal without a meal. So I think
What does it mean?
There's no deal without a meal. So you have to sit together with your business partner, ideally around a pasta or whatever, a meal, dinner or lunch.
Like a dinner.
Yeah. Because once you start to socialize with people, making business together is way easier. And that is what I was most missing and what I was trying and keep on trying to tell people. Don't spend your whole life doing Zoom calls and Teams, because there's so much getting lost. And if it's only the cup of coffee before or after the meeting, where you just ask the people, so how have you been lately? How are your kids? Whatever. The small questions that create a connection, which you won't raise or ask when you are in a video call.
Yeah, we are also very interested in your personal experience. So we would like to know, you're a serial entrepreneur. So you had several businesses already created, and so
not all were successful.
Yeah, that's what we wanted
Far from
to know.
that.
Yeah, that was the question. So could you tell us about your biggest failure or biggest flop?
Oh, how many hours we have? Now let me tell you about one project, and you know it because we talked a lot about it. I launched 5 years ago. It's a company called Stories of Eden, and I had the idea because I'm a frequent traveler and I love to travel and I have a passion for traveling. I'm also obviously, if you travel frequently, you're always also a frequent flyer, and I was always very sensitive to sustainability matters, and I felt like I should do a project where I put together, let's call it luxury traveling and sustainability, because and I would say still today, luxury traveling, people think about bottles of champagnes in beach clubs, And sustainable traveling, people think about collecting beans, coffee beans in Bolivia. So I said, like, no, let's try to make sustainability part of luxury traveling. So I was launching this project, Stories of Eden, that was really pushing things very, very far conceptually. Then I started the company in February 2020, which was exactly a couple of weeks before.
Not the best timing.
Yeah, the worst timing ever. And we talk about a traveling company. We don't talk about
Online shop.
wine shop. I think the wine shops make their best year in 2020.
Probably, yeah.
So I hired a travel agent. It was really, really hard to launch. The travel agent, my employee, turned out to be not what I was expecting, neither in skills nor in trustfulness. And so I lost money, I lost time, but before all, I lost energy. Because even now, if I look back at this project, I think it's a beautiful, beautiful project. And as I said, I was pushing things really, really far. I still have the company. I still have all licenses you need to do so. The website is up and running. The email, my email address is still active. The phone number is still active. So basically, all I need is to push the button, to push the restart. But I don't know if I will ever do it. And this is certainly a failure. Let me tell you another story, which is also, I believe, not directly failure, but let's say deception. I wrote a book back in 1999 about how to create a company in Luxembourg with a French name, Devenir indépendant Luxembourg, les clés de la réussite, which was sold 3,000 times in Luxembourg, printed and sold 3,000 times, which was a huge success. Given the dimension of the country, a book about how to create a company with such an amount of copies sold. And then I approached my editor at the time, and I said, it was 99, just around 2000. And I said, like, let's now go next step, and let's do a website. And we put the content online, and in every book we put like a code, personal code, individual code. And with that code, you can log into the website and you get the information updated and additional data and stuff and so on and so forth. And the editor, I will never forget this meeting. They were looking at me like, yeah, but we are an editor. We edit books. We don't understand what you want to do. Which was really sad because it's 25 years ago, because I felt like it would have been a great idea to do that.
You were too early.
I was obviously too early. I also think that with Stories of Eden, the company I just mentioned, I was too early, because one of the issues was also that we found out, despite what I was expecting and hoping, that people are not ready to pay a little bit more, just a little bit more, to travel in a sustainable way and and to have a carbon neutral or close to carbon neutral footprint if they travel. So yeah, sometimes it's you are too early, sometimes you are too late, sometimes you're just wrong at the wrong place, and that is the charming and unpredictable thing about entrepreneurship. You never know what comes out.
But the beauty is you are still around. So we are talking about...
I don't know if it's beautiful, but I am.
No, it's beautiful because just talking about first-time founders, I mean, the likelihood to succeed as a business owner is very, very little. So 90% of all businesses fail within the first 5 years, and those 10% remaining many of them don't have real revenues. So just to be around is already something. And just talking to me, it's not about me, it's about you today. I learned so much from my failures that have then led to future successes. So I think if you have never failed, you never tried hard enough, right?
Absolutely. There is this figure, I don't have the exact figure in mind, but I wrote it a few months ago that the median age, not the average, the median age of successful entrepreneurs is, I believe, 62. And I think it was US figure. Yeah? Yeah?
Reminds me of Kentucky Fried Chicken.
You
I
need
think
to
they
pay
started
a
at
lot.
65.
Yeah, yeah. So there are, we all know the young tech guys who become billionaires at the age of 29, but they are only a few. And entrepreneurship is not, certainly not about inventing or creating the big thing. Every flower shop, every owner of a flower shop is an entrepreneur. Sounds maybe less sexy, but the challenges are the same.
Yes.
The mindset has to be the same. So for me, owning a flower shop or trying to develop the next technological unicorn takes the same skills and passion and risk appetite, but just we don't read about the owners of the flower shops. But there are way more owners of flower shops than owners of unicorns.
Everyone struggles in different ways, of course. So 9 out of 10 struggle, and 1 is in denial. We all struggle. I think that's the cool message about all that.
Yeah. Yeah. Struggling is part of it, and every failure makes you grow. I would say only stupid people think that they don't commit mistakes, and only stupid people don't want to learn from their mistakes. I would say I'm the product of my mistakes, not of my successes, but of my mistakes. And there are way more mistakes and failures than successes in my life.
Yeah. We know each other for more than 10 years, 12, I think. About that. I was still a banker. And you've been advising me for my first business, how to structure it. I think it was around 12 years ago.
I never sent you an invoice for that.
Well,
That would be a good sign.
next dinner is on me. So. related sign of gratitude to you and your friend. No, but it's about, of course, this video cast is also about, of course, authentic life, about overcoming challenges, how to succeed, how to sustain in challenging times, and personal growth. So compared to the last 10 years, how have you grown as a person?
I think we all have, because 10 years, it's interesting that you say 10 years.
It just happens.
No, but the thing is, I think we all had a life before the pandemic, during the pandemic, and after the pandemic. And pandemic is exactly 5 years ago. Day to day, suddenly came this brutal thing, pandemic, don't go outside, etc., etc. No meetings, no office, no nothing anymore. And this was like, okay, stop, take a breath, look around. Oh, suddenly all these things people were pushing other people, like you have to reply to this email within the next hour, etc., was not of importance anymore, or was very relative. So I think the pandemic changed very much my way of dealing with things, managing stress, managing pressure. I used to be emotionally very much involved into the projects I was managing or driving. Today, I'm less emotional. I'm trying to see it as it is, namely, it's a project I like to do, but it's part of our life, our lives, that some projects will be there for us or with us for a long time, and some projects are not around for a long time. And yeah, I think these are the 2-3 things that have changed in the last 10 years.
How Instagram changed your life?
Oh, during the pandemic, I did a business coach. And my business coach said, listen, Carlo, I see this creative part in you. When listening to you, you did creative work in former times, and now you're doing all this serious, boring stuff, and there's definitely lacking some creativity in your day-to-day work. So why don't you do on top in parallel or whatever as a replacement some creative stuff? And it was going back and forth, several sessions, and then at some point my business coach says, "Why? By the way, why don't you do Instagram?" Nobody was talking really about TikTok at that moment. It's a bit more than 3.5 years ago.
Yeah,
it was for the kids. TikTok was really for the kids. It's a bit less only for the kids now. And I literally said at this point, this moment, never ever in my life I will do a selfie. That's ridiculous. I will never do this. She convinced me, my business coach, to do this, and it was November, December 2021, so 3 years and a couple of months ago. And I said, okay, here's the deal. I do this for 1 year, and I do it like with some attention, some time involvement. If I won't have 3,000 followers by the end of next year, which was then 13 months from that, I would stop, I would delete the profile. And then in August, after 9 months, I had 25,000 followers. And in October, 35,000 followers after 10, 11 months. So I felt like, okay, this is now something I should continue to do. And there were people who were criticizing me for doing Instagram, who told me or told others that is so superficial. And honestly, at the beginning, I felt bad about it. I was like, hopefully none of my friends will see this.
When did you start feeling good? At which point? Do you remember the situation?
Yeah, it was not that situation, but I started to get compliments from people, and I had a couple of really, really amazing situations. And let me just raise once. It was in summer 2022 when I was like around these 25,000 followers, and I was in Mexico, and I was in a city called Guadalajara. And I went to this nice posh restaurant called Bruna. I'm sitting there, and then there's a lady approaching me, and she said, "May I interrupt you?" I said, "Yeah, sure." She said, "My husband, he's sitting over there. He's a huge fan of you." I said, "Pardon?"
Wow.
So I am in Guadalajara in a restaurant in the middle of nowhere. Like Guadalajara is a big city.
No one knows that town in Luxembourg, maybe except yourself. Yes.
And then I'm going there, saying hello to this gentleman. It turns out it's a Mexican gentleman who is a business person in Guadalajara, who spoke perfectly well English, and he started in Cambridge many, many years ago. He must be 65, 68, something like that. So we had a drink together. We spent a very nice moment together. And that was a moment where I felt like, wow, that's interesting. And the other thing is, I, not so long ago, just before Christmas, early December, I had a Christmas lunch with a very successful, very well-known British business person. And here in Luxembourg, and I know him for a while, and I wouldn't say we're friends, but we like each other. And then we are sitting there, and he's making this joke, and he says, "You know, Carlo, last Friday," it was on Friday, "last Friday I had lunch with Jeff Bezos, and today I have lunch with you." And I said, "Oh, that's nice. Well,
all right.
I still cannot buy something from it, but it's still to know." And then we were talking about this and that, and he was talking about his business and life and what's new in his life. And I said, "What about you?" And then I told him about my Instagram activity. And then I told him also that there were people criticizing me for that. And there were even people I thought they were friends, turning away from me because of that. And then he said, "Carlo, did you ever harm someone with your Instagram profile?" I said, "No." When he said, "Carlo, simple question, do you have fun?" I said, "Yes, I do have fun." He said, "Well, you do the most amazing thing you can do.
Yeah.
Have fun and you don't harm anyone."
Yes.
So if people don't talk to you, criticize you, they're most probably jealous. And it took me those 3 years to understand that it's about jealousy or about whatever it is, that people don't understand what I do. But, and this is one of my basic philosophies, if someone is approaching me and tells me, I have a problem with you, then my reply is, I'm really sorry you have a problem, but that is your problem, not mine.
Right.
Yeah. So these were like 2 out of quite a few situations. And it happens that really on a regular basis, people approach me saying, I saw your Instagram, I know you, and it's great.
And the last question.
Yes.
3 main lessons that you learned in your life.
Be authentic. I think that's the most important. Trust your gut feeling or your sixth senses, whatever you may call it, or your heart. Because we are all very rational, or we are educated to be very rational.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think we have to go with a gut feeling. And the third one, which I actually just mentioned, is don't let other people let you down. If people criticize you, there's a high chance that they're just jealous. So if people criticize you, you're probably doing many things right.
Great. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.